perhaps remember, we used to do in-person meetups. We did them in various locations around the world. We had generous hosting offers from various organizations. We did it in Mexico City and London, New York, Tokyo. But it got very difficult to arrange those events. There's less travel budget, less hosting offers, and the whole sort of community kind of fell apart during the pandemic. So we're trying to scale down to what works. And the idea I had was, we're all used to doing basically Zoom calls, I'm sure, and this is a Zoom workalike on open source infrastructure, kindly provided by OpenDev, I believe. Why don't we just try, like a radio talk show? So, and it is mostly like radio because I'm the only person who's got video on, and that's not an important part of it. It's kind of a talk show, but it's meant to be a community thing. This is not a presentation. It's meant to be, hey, we have video conferencing now. We can get together without the travel. So let's do that. And so we did one a month ago or so, and people thought it was valuable. We were kind of making it up as we go along. So there was enough feedback that it was valuable. So we said, hey, let's try it again. And so here we are. And that's really all there is to it. It's not a big fancy program. We don't have a large rotating cast of guests. In fact, I'm the host this time just because no one else volunteered to run it, but it's an open community thing. This is not my show. This is an attempt to replace the old ops meetups with something much more lightweight and possibly more regular. So here we are. So I think Ildiko and Helena kindly put some topic suggestions here. But first of all, let's just see if everyone's actually working this meetpad thing. Does everyone see the meetpad, which is the shared, the Etherpad, which is part of this video, which actually has the attendees and the topics? If you don't, please speak up, because maybe we can, because I think last time some people weren't actually seeing the text, and so it was probably hard to understand what was going on. Does everyone see it? Nobody's saying that they don't see it, so I see some thumbs up. Okay. So the way this works, if you've done Etherpad before in in-person events, it's a shared document. You can type into it, and then you can also speak up. And the idea is we kind of crowdsource an agenda, and then we try and capture interesting things there, and also interesting questions. And then if we can spin this thing up so that it happens regularly, we can actually make it so that the community has a question about, like, what's going on with so-and-so, where's the documentation for this, what's going on, and we can actually maybe bring those questions to the community in other contexts, such as a mailing list, and maybe get some answers. But more generally, it's just meant to be, I think most of us run OpenStack infrastructure, and the idea is to restart a community get together regularly. So that's my overview, and I think it sounds like everyone is seeing the right screen here. So let's get started. Topics, agenda bashing. Ildiko, I don't actually know exactly what that means. Is that a suggestion to work out more agenda?
So just for background, the topics that are currently in the agenda are topic items that came up on the last call a month ago. So I just organized them into something that looks like an agenda for today, and I added agenda bashing to see if people who made it to the call are still want to talk about these topics, or whether the group today would want to talk about something completely else. So that's all. Agenda
Right.
bashing is just checking if the agenda is still what the group wants to talk about today. So nothing more formal or more serious than that.
Okay, got it. There is a topic at the end, A or B, any other business. I suggest that we maybe dive into neutron and switches, because that was the thing that came up strongly last time, which was some people were struggling with. And I think in particular, people were finding migration to OVN difficult. wondering about tools there, and also performance of OVN when you get there, wondering about tools there. So now this is actually a difficult topic for me to moderate, if you will, because we don't actually run either OVS or OVN or Linux Bridge. We run layer 3 with Calico, so completely different Neutron implementation. So you know, who has the first question, if you will, for the group here, who's actually either struggling with these things, the migration and the performance, or you know, has maybe solved some of these problems and want to share. And I emphasize this is meant to be a a working session. This is not a presentation. I came here for slides and animations. I'm sorry to disappoint you.
Mario has his hand up.
I think we should just go ahead and speak up unless we really end up
Okay.
not being able to coordinate because, yeah, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So a few months ago, I have made the migration from OVS to OVN. The first point that I discovered, and probably this is the right place to ask, is if there is any manual tutorial, whatever, to do this without going, for example, to the OpenStack Ansible, OpenStack Docker, OpenStack LXC, LXD stuff. I tried to. I did this, you know, a bit on. Yeah, I mean, it was on my own. I was checking Ansible holes from several places. Then there is no coherent place where if you have problems to do that. In the end, it sort of more or less works. At the moment, what doesn't work well, I have my doubts, is when I configured a VLAN, a provider VLAN, this is not working properly, and also the SRIOV, it's not working properly. I mean, it seems that I have everything okay, but yeah, I think my main question is if there is any type of manual instructions, whatever, to do even the OVN from scratch. You know, uh, without going, you know, to the OpenStack Ansible, OpenStack Docker, OpenStack, you know, already.
So I actually asked that questions to Neutron developers a few weeks ago because I was looking into the same migration. And from what I can see in Neutron itself, there is only like an Ansible playbook from 5 years ago, which was in the context of Triple O, and is not quite supported anymore. So that's the only answer that I got. So I think we are kind of lacking on the Neutron side a clear documentation on how to do that migration.
So I'm
yeah,
complete beginner here. Is this the? Oh, go ahead.
Just to say, yeah, I stumbled also in Triple O, and I tried to see what they were doing there in trying, you know, to make a kind of a recipe. So you have basically two types of documentation: one from Red Hat, from Triple O, and another from Canonical, which uses LXC, LXD, and other things. The amount of templating is so, you know, so involved that you get lost in it, you know, to get, for example, even the correct values for the actual variables or options, etc. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is there's no simple demonstration configuration of OpenStack with OVN. There's only the pre-canned automated configurations for the sort of advanced distributions. Would that be a fair description of it? There isn't like a dev stack with OVN. Is that accurate?
Well, there is a dev stack with OVN, which it's the default configuration nowadays. You can still do dev stack with OVS. I don't know if there are upstream jobs doing the migration, because if there were, we could look at what they're doing.
I see. So there's no
the discussion on IRC that I had to see what was the answer.
Okay, so to modify my summary, there's a dev stack with OVN or a dev stack with OVS, but there isn't a kind of a migration in simple terms from OVS to OVN unless you're using OOO or canonical OpenStack. Is that accurate? I see a thumbs up. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, the
correct.
reactions are good. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, that seems
Yeah, years
seems
ago
a shame.
when the Neutron team was talking about making OVN kind of the default and really encouraging everyone to go there, they had alluded to the existence of migration scripts and said that they would provide them, and that was in 2019. So I don't know. Since then, I've never seen anything one way or the other for it. So it might be a good thing to query them about.
Just a question on this. I mean, of course, I have made. I mean, I have more or less successful. You know, the main thing is that there is, in fact, you can the migration of the database itself, and this kind of works. You know, from the OVS to OVN. This, of course, I had to do in one step. I mean, it was let's say a small downtime on the OpenStack that I had been doing this. It was not much used, so that's why I managed to do it. I can share or I can send to the mailing list or whatever what I've done, because even there are things which I'm not sure which if they are the correct way. But at least, yeah, I mean, I can share this. I have markdown stuff that I can share what I have done. And yeah, I mean, the main thing was to and I have tried a lot of things. You know, at a certain moment, I got a bit lost of things that I was trying in Neutron, in OpenVSwitch, and all that. In the end, I can tell you that OVN is, I mean, if you have it working, it's amazing. I mean, the logging, these OVN show controls, all the virtual interfaces, routers, etc. It's very clean, much better than the OpenVSwitch. So yeah, I mean, in the end, it's even to check the flows and all that. It's yeah.
I just want to say that if you're open to share the steps that you perform to do the migration, I think that would be a great first step, because then it's easier to point the Neutron team to it, figure out together where it could live in the Neutron documentation, and then they might be able to spot some things that are rather look like workarounds than the straight way towards getting through the migration. So they might spot inefficiencies, but it would be a very great starting point if you could share the steps that you followed.
I'm going to just go a little bit meta for just a second here, and for those of you who never made it to an ops meetup, we did actually manage to drive change with the development community, and it's not that they're difficult or hostile, but they are busy. So kind of highlighting very important things was a great thing. So in particular, for example, the ops meetup said, hey, we're running an old version of OpenStack, and you guys have just deleted the documentation. And they're like, well, why aren't you upgrading? And then there was all the conversation about, well, have you ever actually upgraded something at our scale? But putting that aside, that got fixed. And as of OpenStack Mitaka, the documentation does not get deleted. So here, I think there's a need, which I'm hearing, which seems actually quite glaring, I would say. Like OVS is the old thing, OVN is the new thing. OVN is better, but a document that says, here's the basics of the migration, not existing for, the unwrapped or OpenStack, or not being sufficient, seems like a glaring, I don't know, glaring sounds judgmental. Seems like something that people are perceiving. We can actually, maybe bring that to the developers in some sense. And I think a good way to do that, just jumping ahead in the agenda here, the second to last topic is forum suggestions for Open Infra Europe. Well, of course, that's a summit, right? So there'll be some operators, but some developers there. So perhaps that conversation can continue forward there. The difficult thing for me is I'm not going to that summit. Colleagues of mine are going who actually are working on upstream contributions, so they're a better choice for that travel budget. But I'm just wanted to highlight that we don't just get together and say, oh, this is difficult. We can actually drive change and resolve things, hopefully. I think
I'm intending to go, and I can try and do the submission for that if there's some sort of general consensus on what to cover. We've just been kind of the last couple done the at the Open Infra Days done. This is what Ops Meetup is, and how do we kick it back into gear? But we can certainly do some more specific technical topics, maybe more than one session.
Okay, I put a note there, Eric, under forum topic suggestions for Open for Europe Summit. Lack of an OVS OVN migration guide. So Eric has kindly, taken the action, if you will, to bring that to that summit. So if people can actually capture the things that they didn't know that aren't documented, that would be fantastic. If there's outstanding questions, of course, then we maybe ask the developers, but things that weren't obvious, that weren't documented, that maybe you solved, that's like gold dust as well. Like if you can say, I didn't know that you had to, I don't know, like, bring down the database and run a migration offline or something like that, right? And there's a question here, I see a different one is there an ops in-person hour? I can't speak to that because I won't be going there, but it could be, right? Eric?
I mean, we can do that. It's kind of what we were doing the forum session for, but we could also do one over beers, or I guess we're in France, so wine.
Oh no, they like beer in France as well as wine. Trust me.
Yeah.
Maybe wine is preeminent, but
yes.
Okay. So I think there's a little bit of progress here. There's some expression that it's difficult to do the conversion, but also very encouraging that once you get to OVN, it's a lot better. I mean, that's great. So the guide to actually get people off OVS and onto OVN seems like it would be a great thing to achieve, and to kind of pull everyone forward or allow them to go forward into the brave new world of OVN. These things are a mystery to me because I've never used them, unfortunately. So we went straight from Nova Network to Neutron with Calico. So any more comments, questions, needs, frustrations with this particular topic, OVS to OVN? The next topic is very closely related with Linux Bridge to OVN, and someone's kindly put a link to a previous discussion about this. Neutron LB OVN migration. That's one of the great things about capturing things in these Etherpads. They're lightweight and they live forever on the Open Infra or Open Dev server. So we can actually build up community documentation really quickly, easily. It's very open. There's no permissioning. It's easier even than the OpenStack wiki, which is a fine wiki but has a permissioning system. So if you if you want to go from Linux Bridge to OVN, maybe that can be a resource. Any other comments about Linux Bridge to OVN? Comments, questions, frustrations? I recommend if you do, get them onto the session that I think Eric is going to lead in the summit, and then perhaps we can actually get some of the the key domain experts in those areas in and actually thrash some things out.
Hey, Ildiko, do you know when the forum submission things open up?
It's already
The
open.
regulars. Oh, is it?
So the forum session proposal is already open, and I think it will be open for at least 1 or 2 more weeks. 2 weeks. I can double check that. I don't remember.
It is until the 8th of July, if I remember.
There you go. Yes. So it's a week and
Okay.
a half, I think.
All right.
Yeah, and it looks like that if we could have an ops in-person hour combined with large scale parentheses SIG topics, then people would like that. I think that could, like, if we had an in-person, that was me who added that originally. If we had an in-person version of this gathering, that could maybe give good visibility for people who attend the summit and maybe were not aware of the virtual one before, and then we can point them to this gathering from there as well. So my idea was to make this gathering a bit more visible and see who we can catch in person at the event. And I'm happy to help with it if
Yeah,
needed.
sure. That'd be great. I'll put something in. Go find a link and put something in the system for that, and maybe this OVS to OVN, or old networking to OVN in general, Linux Bridge also. We can do a session on that and draw in some Neutron folks who might be able to contribute some answers to it if we don't get something in between now and then. We can have a talk about that, and people can share their tips and tricks.
Someone needs to promise me to buy Eric a beer for his efforts here, because it's normally I go to these events mostly just to buy him the beer to keep him going. So someone please.
Thanks.
Okay, so I think those two topics have a path forward, and there's a need here that operators running production infrastructure have, which is oh, I'm running your old stuff and I need to get to the new stuff. How do I do that? It's actually pretty important. One of the things that I think was valuable about the old ops meetups was people talking about running infrastructure continuously. I've got OpenStack, but I've got users. They've got VMs. I can't just tear it all down. Just it's not like make clean and then make, right? And that perspective, highlighted the difficulties of running it to a professional standard rather than merely just building and tearing down clouds, sort of purely in a software development thing. So I think that might be quite a valuable session for the summit to kind of start that process again of bringing that feedback from real operators with real infrastructure, with real responsibilities, to the developers who bring wonderful things like OVN. It's like, it's great, but how do I get there? I do want to move on. We're almost halfway through. The next topic, really a subtopic of this, is performance tools specific to OVN. Do they exist? And I'm looking to you folks because I don't know, unfortunately. If someone's running OVN and has done any performance tuning, can you share? And if you use something that's proprietary, just that's still useful information, right? Like if you're unable to use OVN other than you're using some great commercial thing, maybe that's a gap. So please do speak up and share what you know if anyone has done performance tuning of OVN. Anybody? I feel like there's people here who must have done this but just aren't speaking up. And I'm told it's not very nice to pick on people, but John the tuba guy, do you have a comment? I mean, Stack HPC is or was your employer, right? And then you do that kind of awesome stuff.
I can have a comment. I've actually, sorry, I've got to run in 5 minutes. It's about time for me to say something. So this probably goes back to what we raised previously. I put a comment in the previous chat about there being some issues with chassis priority bugs and things. Not of performance per se, but in terms of getting provider VLANs on. That's a whole. I linked to the bug report and stuff. There's conversations on that. But one of the related things that was mentioned was SRV. So I think increasingly when we want maximum performance, we're using OBS offloading. So in a sense, we haven't been tuning Oven as such, in that we've been offloading OBS into the NIC. So several NIC vendors support this, but essentially you can, if you look at the flows on your VIF that goes into the VM, some of the flows are tagged with this VLAN sent to VM, or tag with this Genev or VXLAN, encapsulate all the traffic and send it on. Essentially, those flows can get offloaded into the NIC. So that's where my understanding of what happens, apart from magic beans, in that you get the packets flowing into the NIC straight into the VM, so that the VM sees a physical NIC. This definitely comes under the category of cheating, but when you've got the right hardware, that flies, and you can do RDMA over it. So you can have like RDMA Rocky connections work, which is why I'm more interested in it, because I have a lot of customers that want to do NPI jobs that need RDMA to perform properly for the simulations, and SRV is a way to do that. But it is worth knowing you can do this OBS offloaded. And you can actually do it across the bond, or you can do VF lag. There's some blogs we've done on that. So if you've got like a 200 gig, 200 gig connections into the card in new bonding, you can then actually get the full bandwidth of that inside your VM with RDMA working, which is kind of cool. But mostly that's just bypass.
I didn't hear that last bit, John. I heard
the trick is sometimes you have to turn off various features like connection tracking to make sure that the flows can be offloaded to the NIC. Anyway, hopefully that helps someone who's trying to do that kind of thing potentially.
Well, it seems like it's a great kickoff to the discussion, but you have to go, unfortunately, John. One thing I want to mention, if anyone is unaware, this time we're using a document that's everlasting. So the previous discussions are down here. I'm scrolling down. I don't know if you guys can see that. So John's apparently put some comments in previously. But that's a great, I don't know if that's cheating at all, honestly. That's just a great comment that the way John's customers do it is by offloading. So they don't tune OVN per se, they kind of bypass it. I see someone started a comment that feels like cheating. Little, maybe that is, or I think maybe that's Ildiko. Anyone else got comments about getting performance with OVN? I'll phrase it that way because John, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got one. Okay. So IBM makes this fantastic network performance monitor called GPFS. It's yeah, it's a file system, right? Used in HPC a lot. So I had a cloud. I got a new cloud. We recycled old cloud, and Aaron, who's on the call here, he redeployed it with OVN, like you should for a new one. And the what used to work under Linux Bridge didn't work under OVN. And we spent a couple months trying to figure out why GPFS kept dropping out. Like it's highly sensitive to network latency. And what we finally figured out was identical hardware. The only real difference was OVN versus OBS. That OVN does not play well with the kernel page merging KSM. So once we turned that off, everything started working again.
I tried to capture that, Mike, but feel free to correct my thing. So I wrote, you switched from OVN, switched to OVN, and the IBM GPF tool stopped working and fixed by disabling KVM KSM, which is kernel same page merging. I may have the acronym wrong.
Yeah, that sounds right.
This is great info.
Yeah. It's usually only large HPC centers that use this this network file system, but it's very, very picky when it comes to how clean and low latency your network is.
Got it. Okay. In the instance of keeping things moving along, any other comment? Oh, John has to go. Thanks for joining, John. I hope we can join again. What I was saying is, so that's some good info about performance tools specifically for OVN. So if you even do get to OVN, there's some people who are not sure how to tune their cloud for maximum performance. John was giving some great information about basically what he called cheating, which I don't really think is cheating, but using vendor offload to speed up the packet processing to the extent that he said they could get the full bandwidth from bonded dual 200 gigs. So that's pretty awesome. And then Mike had a very specific thing about they got GPF working by disabling KSM. The next topic that was put up from last meeting was Rabbit MQ upgrades classic queue to quorum queue. That was a question, and I don't know who posted that question. I don't know whether anyone has the answer. So does anyone want to talk about that? We can only talk about things that people who attend want to talk about, and obviously it's not mandatory, so if no one's here for that, we can move on. We do run Rabbit, but I'm not an expert, so.
Hi.
Go ahead, speak up.
Me, Mario again. We have in this with the OVN, we have Rabbit with quorum queues. That was not too, I mean, it was not quite of migration. I mean, I just removed the old, well, not removed, but I removed all the queues from the old Rabbit when I was doing the upgrade, and I just, I mean, you create the Rabbit cluster. For that, you should, in principle, have all the services of OpenStack in the controllers, compute nodes, everything down, so that the guy doesn't bother Rabbit when you are doing this. So you do the cluster, and then you configure the several services to have quorum queues as at least this in the manuals. In the manuals are in principle are correct. So, and since then it has been running like that. One of the things now I just, and it has to do with the Open vSwitch and OVN. So OVN basically doesn't use Rabbit, which is amazing, you know, because most of the queues in Rabbit with Open vSwitch are from the agents, and this might eventually cause some problems from time to time. The nice thing about this new OVN is that it doesn't use the messaging, Rabbit messaging. So yeah, I mean it's much lighter in that respect. And apart from that, I mean you make the Rabbit cluster, you configure to have quorum queues in the several OpenStack services, start, and in principle should. Here I didn't saw any big trouble.
Okay, thanks, Mario. So one moderator comment, I see lots of great information in the Meetpad chat, but if I could ask people when you're sharing something, you know, a valuable comment, if you can get it into the actual Meetpad, sorry, the Etherpad, then people can refer to it after, whereas I don't know whether anyone's going to be looking at the Jitsi chat after we finish for this hour. It's a bit like chatting in Zoom, you know, people share all this stuff and then the Zoom call finishes and you don't have it, right? So if you can try and put stuff into the Etherpad now or after, it's a way for the effort that we've all put into this meeting to kind of have some lasting value for the community. I'm just about to try and capture some of the good information from Mario, but I can't type into the Etherpad right now, so I'm having a technology problem here. I can click around, but I can't get in there. Those of you who may not be seeing the MeetPad chat, if you look at your toolbar at the bottom, there's a sort of speech bubble thing. If you click on that, it comes up to the left. We had some comments on Rabbit in the OVN context. The next topic on the sheet is Open for Europe. Again, so I'm not going to be there. Eric will be there, and I think there's interest in a session specific for operators. And I put down this comment here. Can we highlight the lack of an OVS to OVN migration guide here? Anything else that people want to suggest for Europe? I understand that maybe some people might be on this call that won't be making the summit, so you can potentially put topics forward that the community can discuss there. Dead silence. I think everyone understands, but it's quite hard to run a meeting when there's no responses. So I guess there's nothing else there. Anyone?
Hey there. Yeah. We're gonna be there. OVH Cloud will be there, and we will present something about RabbitMQ as well. We have a talk which has been selected, and we will present something about the fact that we switched to quorum queues as well. And our experience is pretty similar with what Mario described. Actually, we deleted every queues and classic queues, classic HA queues before starting over and starting with the quorum queues. We also enabled stream queues, which are a subset of quorums, and we did a lot some other improvement as well. Since we did that, our Neutron deployment has been a little bit more reliable, but it's still not perfect, unfortunately. And Neutron is the bad guy on that part. Neutron is heavily relying on creating and manipulating queues on RabbitMQ, and this is very complex to manage. So I believe OVN is without RabbitMQ is a good thing.
Thanks, Arnaud. So if someone could help out and try and capture some of these things, as I mentioned, I'm unable to type into the Etherpad right now.
Yeah, I will add things. No worries. Yeah.
Talking of Europe, one of the things we're working on, Bloomberg, is QoS. So we are successfully QoSing certain parts of our cloud already. QoS means quality of service, so we're actually limiting things like network bandwidth and disk usage to do performance management and keep things fair. And we're trying to upstream for that. And so a session that you might want to look out for, if you're interested in these things, is from my colleague Mike Baruta and some of his team, BORUTA, talking about bringing enhanced QoS controls into the OpenStack components rather than doing it kind of behind the scenes. And if the topic is new to anyone, VMs can hog resources and cause problems for other applications, noisy neighbor problem. And of course you can move VMs apart or manually manage it in some way, but what we found is we've got limits, and then we set a threshold that you generally can't exceed, and then there's a burst threshold which you can exceed briefly, or you can hit briefly. And this has been very successful because we have some workloads want to use all of the disk performance that they possibly can, like enormous build farms, CI/CD, Jenkins, that type of thing, and other things that aren't that busy, but when they need to use disk or when they need to use network, it needs to work right then because they're more latency sensitive. So this, I think, is something that OpenStack started, and then some bits of it were ripped out, but I think it's important for running a general purpose cloud that needs to be fair to all its users. So that's a bit of advertising. That will be, we've put forward, I mean, obviously the sessions haven't been selected yet, but I think that is likely to get selected, and that could be a good one. And that's, they're going, and that's one of the reasons I'm not going, because we have limited travel. Anything else people want to talk about for Open Infra Summit Europe? I think that Arno wants to talk about Rabbit with quorum queues could be pretty good for those who have questions about Rabbit. Okay, so I think the last topic on the agenda, unless people want to suggest new things, and by the way, again, this is a working session, not a presentation, feel free, is just this thing itself. So meeting timing and cadence. So we started off about a month ago. We had feedback that it was useful. We said we'll do it again, and we said let's do it on June 27th, and here we are. We don't know when the time to do this might be. I think we'll probably look for a date approximately in a month, unless that doesn't work. I think Ildiko pointed out that the summer tends to be more difficult. Any feedback on, this time slot and the monthly cadence? Any comments on this ops radio thing in general? Go ahead.
I think it's good to have one every month, and Friday is perfect for me.
Okay, thank you. Again, if someone could capture that on the Etherpad, I'm just unable to click into it. I don't know what's going on. Cannot get that's me bashing my keyboard. It's not working. Any other comments? I think at least one person said they had a clash. Was it a colleague of yours, Arnold? Over on IRC?
So, sorry?
What, oh, that was you.
That was me. Yeah, I was not supposed to be there, but I am there finally.
And I think you were hoping that D Simard was going to come, and he's not here.
Yeah,
so.
But David was not able to be there. Finally.
Okay, well that's fine.
Yeah.
So that's one piece of feedback, that this slot works, Fridays work, and monthly works. Any other comments from anyone else?
There's comment in the chat that last Friday of the month seems to work, and the Etherpad has the same every month, plus Friday is okay. And I just checked, and the last Friday in July is July 25th. And there's a +1
Okay.
in the Etherpad.
Yeah, I'm out of the Etherpad too, but she can +1 for me for that one. It's fine.
Yes, this will be summer holidays, so I won't be there, but I believe.
Yeah, it looks like that people who will be around, they seem to think that July 25th would be a good one. And I think we just need to acknowledge that it will probably lighter attendance just because it's middle of the summer. But it looks like that people would still want to keep it. And the Friday monthly cadence in general seems to be okay for people. I'm happy to note down July 25th in the wiki and on the Etherpad and all the places, because it sounds like that people don't have objections other than saying that it's summertime, so I might not be able to make that particular one, but it seems like there's still interest.
Okay, I actually rejoined the meeting because everything was kind of locking up. And in case anyone needs to know, the Etherpad wasn't there, so I had to do open shared document. The Meetpad thing is actually, it's a fantastic thing. I think it's a fantastic resource for the community, but I'm not that familiar with it, so I'm still learning. But I hear July 25th, there's 3+1s, which is some of the most feedback we've had. So I will certainly try and run this again unless there's someone else who wants to volunteer to run this. It's kind of a weird thing because this is meant to be a community get together, but it's still mostly me talking, which I kind of hate. But if it's delivering value, I'll certainly try. So July 25th, and I think we're also hearing that Friday mornings, last Friday of the month works. It's sort of don't push to production Friday, right? So this is great. And by the way, in case anyone was wondering, the attendance is actually fantastic considering it's already technically summer. We had a bit fewer last time, so I think we're actually growing this still. So my final topic that I would share, if that's okay, is just ideas about getting the word out. So there is an outstanding action that I had in the last meeting, which is to examine a matrix chat room that's apparently been set up for operators. So I will do that. I didn't get to do it before this meeting. I can see someone typing now. Yay, it's working. So I use Mastodon, but I know that that's niche. I'm happy to try and use Matrix, and maybe that's going to work. For those of you who are wondering what we're talking about, so Twitter used to be great for this, but Twitter is basically repugnant to me, at least now, and I'm not going to use it, I think, for many. LinkedIn, there was an OpenStack group on LinkedIn, which mysteriously got deleted. I don't know what happened there. So we're actually not sure what the best venue is for just a general hangout now. Possibly just a personal issue, but IRC is extraordinarily hard for me. Today, I opened it on this computer, which is my work computer, and the content protection agent was literally preventing me even typing, let alone cut and paste. So I can't put links in there normally, but now I can't even type in it. So, and that's a web page. So IRC is, as I've mentioned before, super hard for me. I have to remote desktop to some other computer just to do it. I see some suggestions there: Mastodon, mailing list, communication channels. Ildiko, I think you said that the information about the matrix room or team or whatever it is on the mailing list. Is that correct?
Yes, I did send out information to OpenStack discuss about it. I'm not sure if let me check. I don't think I put it in here, but I will put the information on the top of this Etherpad as well, so people will be able to find it here too. I don't know if there's a good place on the wiki that you all are maintaining. I don't want to mess around with the ops wiki page unless you tell me to do so, but I'm happy to try to find a place there too if we want to.
By all means, drop it in. We're not that protective of it.
Okay.
And it was started by Tom, so I mean,
Okay.
that tells you how long it's been there, right? It's good historical record.
I'm not getting a lot of feedback here, which is fine. So as I said, Mastodon is open source and it's federated. It's good at resisting takeover, and it's not just Twitter that was taken over. The previous IRC host that the community used to use, was it Freenode, had a hostile takeover and a very unfortunate fate as well. So I do think it's important, and I also like to shy away from the commercial things. We talked about Slack for a while, but it turns out that free teams on Slack kind of suck because the history gets deleted, so you don't build up a useful body of knowledge at all. And if you want to have a paid team, that's just too much money. Apparently, the CNCF has found that they can't afford that for the Kubernetes community, or it's a strain at least. So please do share what you think the community should do. And I think we do need to try and avoid being on all of the messaging systems, because that's just too much fragmentation. So I'll take a look at Matrix. Please, if you like Matrix, +1 it here, and maybe I can see there. I see +1s, or at least some comment on IRC's complex for some people. It's certainly very difficult for me. By the way, I mentioned IRC Web, IRC Cloud. IRC itself is completely banned entirely within my company and on our company provided computers. I'm not even on the VPN and I can't do it, right? So it's just very unfortunate. I see some people capturing. Thank you so much. We are in the last few minutes, and I get the feeling that people would maybe like to just finish here and go get their coffee before the next meeting. So maybe I'll say any other business, you know, in last call. We don't actually have to go the whole hour. We do what we want. So any other things that people want to talk about? And just speak up.
Just one quick one. Any topic suggestions for the next occasion? If people have anything in mind that they would want to dig into next time, that might help with also advertising that this is happening. It's always nice to have some agenda items in there too that catches people's interest.
I can volunteer something. So just a bit of boasting, but one of the reasons I've been a little busy and not maybe looking after publicity for this, we were doing Swift compliance for our cloud product, and we got we passed recently. So if anyone is facing that, I could talk about it in general terms. But I'd want to hear, you know, that would actually be useful before I babble on about that. It might just be something that no one has dealt with. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Swift is a banking network. Our cloud supports some applications that have to be Swift compliant for legal reasons, basically, and they expanded the scope from those VMs to the entire cloud last December. So it's been quite a year, honestly. But anyway, that's one thing. Maybe if Matrix works out and there's a critical mass there, we can actually crowdsource some agenda items for next time over on Matrix.
Yeah, I was wondering if I don't know if you know, might bring in some additional other folks that are kind of newer to the community, but I know that I haven't actually checked to see that it did or remember what the date was, but I know the VMware migration working group was due to release their white paper about doing the whole VMware to OpenStack migration thing.
The white paper is out
Perhaps.
now. It's published, so it's available.
Cool. Then maybe there would be some interest from some folks in discussing that migration process. If we could, you know,
I mean,
nudge that out there.
I think that's a great thing for us to push out on all the channels to see if people want to talk about that. I went to OpenStack Days, you know, North America. I remember in Indiana, there were some great presentations about the tools to convert from VMware to OpenStack, and they were surprisingly mature, supported, and free. I kind of thought that the tools might be, you know, limited to third-party vendors who are trying to make some, you know, get some business out of this, but fantastic tools to get your stuff out of ESX into OpenStack that are free. They're well documented. They're supported. And one thing I loved was that they're incremental. You can kind of sync your data multiple times so that the final sync and the switchover is almost instantaneous, because you know all you're doing is syncing the delta of the volumes, I believe. So that's a great idea, Eric. I'll actually push that forward on, I think, Mastodon, and then if I manage to get Matrix working, I'll certainly do that as well. Interesting. Someone put VTPM. That's actually something that we have on our roadmap. We need to add secure boot to our product, which you don't have currently, and it's going to require VTPM. But we require every VM to be live migrate compatible right now, which is a high bar because VTPM doesn't support that currently, and that's an upstream active work item, I think, with code proposals, but they're not landed. So I don't know who put that on, but thank you. That's something we could talk about next time. So it is 4 minutes to the top of the hour. Probably a lot of us have meetings coming up. I certainly do. I'm talking to my boss in 4 minutes. So I would like to propose to close this here. I would suggest, though, that you bear in mind that the Etherpad will live on, and you could dump some of your comments in here for them to be preserved, because as far as I know, the Meetpad chat will only live on in the recording, and it's not going to be something that you can go link to. So please consider sharing in this sort of more lightweight and long-lived format, which is the shared doc here. So I think,
especially if you come up with ideas for topics for next time, you know, offline in the span of the next month. Throw them in there.
Okay. Any final comments before I call this to a close? Okay. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for joining. This seems to be useful. Please let me know. Please give us feedback, and we'll do this again. And we'll aim for July 25th. Thank you, everyone,
Thank you.
and I'll see you next time.
See you.
Thanks later.
Thank you all.
I love TV. I can't help it.
Bye bye.